Great. So a very warm welcome. Good evening to all of you. Uh, I'm Mridula Das, and I've been in this field for quite some time. Uh, Two areas that I feel very passionate about is at this point of time that I'm really working on. One is transactional analysis, and the second is Kavi has always been my, most favorite when it comes to most of his tenets. What we are bringing today here, what I bring to all of you, and what we will be discussing today is the abundance mindset. Especially how we can make use of this abundance mindset in times of crisis. Okay, all of us are going through difficult times. The whole lockdown and setback for various projects, staying at home, looking at lack of access, all these things have been major concerns for many of us. So for some it may be more, for some it may be less. For example, working from home is not a big concern for me because I work from home even otherwise. But many of us who have, or many of you who are used to actually being there, down out there, may find it really tough. Uh, at the same time, the whole idea of people being confined to these four walls and having no other outlet can become a tough, a point of time for people. So let's look at what is it that we being, professionals, L&D professionals, we being educationists can do to make our personal and professional life better in these times using the abundance mindset. So I know that I won't be there is no scope for asking questions, but there would be a little bit of work that we will be doing all through. This is not going to be a gyan session. um, Most of the work will be personal work. So questions that come to you, I would request each of you to have pen and paper ready with you so that you could make notes. My suggestion is that be as honest and as ruthlessly honest as possible, because it's going to stay with you. We do not bring it back to share here unless at the end during the question and answer session somebody really wants to share it. uh, so the first thing that I would like, uh, and I would invite all of you to do is uh, think about what we are going to do today. One of the things that we will do is we'll introspect and bring out the inner fears that we have within us. We will look at what these fears are and where they come from. A fear that I may sit with may not be a fear for somebody else. A fear that another person thinks is the biggest fear may not be a fear for me. So where we need to reflect where these fears come from. And when these fears set into us, these inner fears are with us, many times we do not really know how to share or what to do about it. We need to understand and we need to reflect and we need to practice what we can do about it. And then look at what are the alternatives available for us. There are multiple alternatives available. And when we are handling these fears, where are we reacting from? Are we really reacting or are we responding to these fears? So this is what we will be looking at. So quickly, let us start. The first one, take about a minute and write down, when you heard about the lockdown, what were the top two fears in your mind? Take a quick minute or two and write down for yourself the top two fears. The top two fears that came to your mind. Have you, if you have made, you made a note, I hope. Okay, we'll move to the next part. These could be many things. These could be many different kinds of fears that we have in our mind. And what is needed is just identify the top two fears that came to your mind when you heard about the lockdown, these 21 days of lockdown. After you have written it down, now go back to those two fears and write down, what did you do with these fears? What is it that you did? For example, for me, a big fear that came up is would medicines be available? And that was a fear I sat with because I live with elderly parents, and the worry was that their regular medicine needs to be available. The second thing is, what did you do with these fears? Once these fears cropped up, what did you do with these fears? Please make a note of that. Is the slide visible to all of you? Okay, great. What did you do with those fears? I hope all of you have made a note of that. Now, could you look back to your past? Go back to your, like a flashback.
You lost your mind.
Okay, so I heard some confusion over there. If there is somebody who is, could you all please keep your mics on mute, and would be great if you can just, kind of respond using the chat. Can you look back and see if something similar has happened in any other situation, in a similar situation? Indira, could you please put everybody on mute? I'm not the host, so.
I'll just check that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, can you look back and see if something similar has happened in any other situation? It could be an official, a personal, a professional space where you hit some kind of fear. And when you hit that fear, what did you do with that fear? If you go back to the second question, what did you do with the fear that hit you when you heard about the lockdown, and what you did with the fear that you faced earlier? Do you see a pattern emerging? Do you see a pattern emerging? Most of the time, we tend to live in a series of patterns, and these patterns keep playing and replaying with us. And this comes from the fact that when we build a particular pattern, and that pattern is rewarded either positively or negatively, then we tend to feel familiar with that pattern, and then there is a sense of comfort that comes in. And this sense of comfort may not always be a positive one, may not be a productive one, but because there is a sense of comfort, because it is familiar, we continue repeating that pattern. And this pattern many times can come from a scarcity mindset. Most of the time. So the lockdown has happened, 21 days of lockdown. Oh my God, I'm a victim of this lockdown. I'm not ready. I was not told in advance. The government did not inform us. My organization doesn't know what to do. What will I do with my client? All these things can come to us when we put ourselves in the position of a victim. Or we may say, immediately get to this mode of saying, now that this is 21 days of lockdown, we tend to bully the people around us, saying, now you need to cut short on what you are doing. You need to, take care of these requirements. And, we get into this mode of being the dictator or being the persecutor. When we get into this mode or this pattern, what happens is it has impact on us in threefold ways. It has an impact on our body, it has an impact on our mind, and it has an impact on our emotion. All of you here would, if you have a quick look at the slide, you will see that whenever we put ourselves in these patterns of fear, Okay, whatever that fear is, the first thing that happens is that it hits our body. There are certain parts of our body that get impacted by it, right? We may feel a shortness of breath, or we may feel clenched. Some of us may get clammy hands, right? And look at what happens to our emotions. So our emotions lead us to becoming highly frustrated, impatient, angry, overwhelmed. And when we get into this, what happens is that if you have too many people in the same setup who are with this mindset, the scarcity mindset, then it will lead to a lot of pressure. It will lead to all people getting on each other's nerves, whether it is a professional space or whether it is a personal space. And of course, as a result of which, no clear plan of action, no organized plan of action, no real execution will happen. And end of the day, we think in terms of, I have no choice. I am the victim. See, I'm blameless. I didn't bring this lockdown. I have not done anything. I've been a very mindful citizen. I have not been the cause of bringing this virus over here. I'm a victim. And then there are all these other people who will tell you, no, you are not the victim. You are a persecutor because you troubled the earth. You actually cut down the trees. You brought in, non-vegetarianism, or name it. You didn't take care of things. And then there are all these people who will come up, jump in and say, I want to support. I want to help. I want to do this. I want to do that, without checking what is the need. When this game of the victim, the persecutor, and the rescuer happens, what is happening to us is we are building a scarcity environment. We are building a scarcity mindset, and then we are getting more and more deeper and deeper into it. A victim continues to be the victim. A persecutor continues to be the persecutor, and a rescuer continues to be the rescuer. And these, if we have, what happens when this continues to grow and grow further, as a victim, because I say I am blameless, I gradually move to this high pedestal and I say, I am right. See, I didn't do anything. I am blameless. You are to be blamed. And therefore, now it is your job to take care of me. Whoever that is, whoever that you is. If I am the persecutor, if that is my general way of looking at things, then I become a bully and I say, whatever I am saying is right. My way or the highway. What I say, the first alternative, what I want is the right one. And therefore, you need to do the way I do, otherwise you suffer. And then we move to the next group, which says, well, I'm the rescuer, I'm doing so much good for the world. I'm so tired. I have no time for myself. And I'm always not checking whether they are capable of getting it for themselves or not. Not checking whether they really want this or not. And I then sit on my pedestal feeling great about myself. If this is how we are working, where does it end? It ends in us getting deeper and deeper into these frames that we have created for ourselves. And hence this constant blame game happens, right? Never am I to be blamed. There is always some other that is sitting on the other side that gets blamed. Never am I to because I didn't do anything wrong. Ownership. We want to be accountable for our fears and turn it and make it into something that is not to be scared of, something that I can do, I can plan, and I can come out of that state of fear. Then what will we do? For example, I don't know if all of you, if you have written anything like this, if all my grocery gets over, what will happen? Could be a fear. If this is the fear statement, how would you like to write it in positive terms? or rephrase it so that it chooses to move from the scarcity mindset. I can say I've taken stock and have groceries for so many days. Let me check how I can extend it to 5 more days. If I get a pay cut, many of us have faced this, right? Many people are facing this. If I get a pay cut, then the panic is, how will I manage my finances? I have my expenses already cleared. Can we relook at that and present it differently and say, I will take stock of critical requirements, and check the balance. Now I'll plan how to allocate my expenses. This is one way of relooking at it. May I request you people to relook at the 2 fears that you had put down and rewrite it using positive terms. Rewrite it where you take charge of those fears and do something about it. How are you going to turn these fears into an actionable item, into something doable? Please respond with a yes in the chat box once you're done. Does this make sense? Turning the whole thing into a positive, into a more doable, into a more enabling statement, rather than keeping it in this looming large black dark fear or a fearful statement. Thank you, Sunita. Great. Looks like most of you are done. How does it look now that you have rephrased it? Now that you have rephrased it, what is the look of this fear that you had with you? Does it now look like a doable action item that many of us give our learners to do? Most of us do that, right? At the end of a session, say, take an action item. Great, that I can sustain myself. Wonderful. There's a visible solution. Great. So what appeared to be like this black hole suddenly starts opening up and we see light at the end of the tunnel. We find that, yes, there's a solution and I identified it. I found a solution for it. It's not something to worry about. It moves us to this new triangle where I don't mind being vulnerable. I don't want to be a victim. I'm being vulnerable. I know what are my weaknesses. I know what is the situation. I'm aware and mindful of the situation. I'll assert my abundance mentality. I'll be assertive. At the same time, caring. Am I able to play all the 3 roles? Is that possible? The moment we have changed this sentence into a more positive, actionable, executable, visible solution. So when I am caring, I am empowered to care for somebody, and I have enabled myself to say no when I want to say no. So I do not peter down to the space where I feel, oh my God, I'm getting used. I have been helping everybody, nobody's helping me. When I'm being assertive, I'm mindful of the other person's capability. I'm mindful of the other parties, whoever I am, interacting with. I'm capable, I'm aware of and mindful of their capability. I am also acknowledging that they are individuals who come with a thinking, doing mind. And I'm assertive to say that, let's do this together. When I'm vulnerable, I am putting across saying that I trust you, and I'm bringing my vulnerability into the forefront. And when I say I trust you, then I'm building that trust that the other party trusts back. And then what happens is the whole setup changes. So for example, if I take the present situation of, lack of work, many people feel, oh my God, many of us who are, let's say independent consultants, if I'm not visible, my clients might forget me. What is it that we can do? That's a vulnerable part of me. I open myself to saying that, yes, I acknowledge the fear that I'm feeling. And what can I do? Can I take care of this need or this fear within me and then be assertive enough to stay visible? It could be that I send short podcasts just before we started, we found that there's a series of podcasts happening, which is beautiful. I can send across enough, you know, uh, suggestions, readings to stay visible with my clients. Or I can also look at alternative medium of functioning. For example, now some of my senior leadership coaching clients, I have turned them into virtual coaching, which is what is a possibility. This is a winner's triangle. We do not have to worry about constantly being on the losing side. Therefore, I bring you to this, what is called the 6 acts of abundance. It's nothing new. I'm sure all of you are quite aware of it. However, when we put it into practice, when we actually write it down, it pops up. One of the key features or acts of abundance is appreciation. So, we come from a culture where appreciation, we are brought up with this, or we are raised with this idea that if you appreciate your child too much, the child will get spoiled. So may I suggest to all of you that start off by offering or writing down 2 appreciations for whoever they are. Significant others of yours. Be anybody.
Looks like we lost Mridula. Indira, do you know?
Yeah, I've lost her too.
I think
guess
maybe
she has
the connectivity was bad, so
yeah,
let's see then.
I guess she'll have to connect back. And looks like she's
Yeah,
back.
there she's back. Yes.
Yeah.
Mridula, you're on mute.
Hang on. I'll unmute her because I put it on mute as.
Okay.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know exactly where we got disconnected.
Mridula, you might want to revisit that slide that you had shown us, na? The significant others. You just might want to start from there.
Right, we'll start from there. One second. Is it visible to all of you now?
No, not yet. Right now, I can only see you.
All right. Let me do it again. All right. Is it visible?
Yeah, now it is.
Great. Okay. All right. I got a request saying, please share the PPT. Let's walk through this now. My apologies for the interruption. Let's start with these, the first things first, which is offer words of appreciation. I know that all of us love to be appreciated, but we come from a culture where appreciation, and we feel if you appreciate people too much, then they'll get spoiled. Then they won't put enough effort. But I have understood with whatever little practice that I have done, then when we appreciate people, we really encourage them to do better. So could you all think in terms of parents, whoever they are, your house help, your colleague, somebody who has delivered a medicine, or somebody who has got in the grocery. Write down 2 appreciation sentences, which after this session you could share with them. Am I audible to all of you? Can I just get a yes from one of you?
Yes, Mridula.
Thank you. Thank you, Suma. Are we done with the first one? One second, I seem to have.
Yeah, we're done with the first one.
Great. Okay. Now, I have found that whenever we appreciate somebody, there is a sense of joy within us. And when we build in this joy within us, it helps us to see more opportunities of appreciation. But the next action or the next act of abundance is to choose to see an opportunity. So for many of us who have, I'll give you an example. So for me, who works from home, I see this as an opportunity to offer some pro bono sessions, which I am doing. Because I am now totally confined. I don't have the need to step out. I have extra time in hand. And I feel if I can offer certain pro bono sessions for people who may not be able to afford what we are offering vis-a-vis our coaching sessions, will benefit from it. So the second act would be that in this lockdown of 21 days, identify one opportunity that you can explore you have not explored earlier. It can be anything. It can be a hobby you have not practiced or you have not had time to follow up. It can be reading something that you have not done. It could be completing a course you have joined for and not had the time to go through it. Whatever it is, choose and write down that one opportunity yourself. Okay, 1 second. Okay. Okay, are you all able to hear me now?
Yes.
Great. Okay, thank you, Ravi. Was what I said earlier not clear? Do you want me to repeat that?
No, it's fine. You can continue, Mridula.
Okay, so let me for all right part. Identify any one thing that you think as an opportunity. Great. If you are done with that, go back. There is more than enough in this universe. Remind yourself that there is more than enough opportunities, there's more than enough projects, there are more than enough everything. And to be able to think that, the example that I'm picking up is, oxygen, right? When all of us are crowded in a place, we don't worry whether there's enough oxygen or not. But the example is that, for example, imagine that, 2 of us are scuba diving and one of us loses the, the oxygen source. Oh, okay. Okay, Suma, so am I clear now?
Yes, Mridula, you are clear, but just occasionally what's happening is there's a lag. So your words keep getting stretched and, we can't hear. I think it's the connectivity problem.
Could be the connectivity, yeah. If you are not able to hear, just put a question and I'll repeat the statement.
I'll raise the hand.
Okay, sure. Will that show on the chat?
It will.
Fine, fine. All right. So the thing is, it's very important for us to remind ourselves that there is more than enough, especially in these times where I'm seeing people hoarding for the next 6 months, or people who are, fighting like crazy to, kind of stop all kinds of things which we may never even use after some time. So to that sense of abundance, that sense that there is enough and more, that whenever I do this piece, it always reminds me of, the story of this young boy who was really hungry, and who was walking down the road, and he was given a piece of chocolate. He breaks it into half and gives the other half to the person who gave him. For me, that is abundance. When we think of what is abundance mindset, that is abundance mindset. The heart
You
is
were
so
mentioning, sorry,
Sorry?
you were mentioning something about scuba diving example with oxygen.
Yes.
Can you finish that?
I'll go back to that. So what happens is, let's say now when we are scuba diving, two of us are there, and we have our oxygen masks with us. Now, when we are in a crowd where we are outside, we don't worry about the oxygen, right? We don't worry whether there is enough for us or not. But let's say two of us are there and one of us loses their oxygen mask. Now, what goes through my mind? Do I have enough for myself? What should I do for the other person? Do I share some of it when there's a break or there's a tear? What can we do? That's when we start thinking, right? The problem comes out then. And are we then able to share and together come out of that situation? That's abundance mentality. Therefore, I move to the next one, where we talked about this boy and we said that, a person who is hungry, who has not eaten for days, a small kid, given a bar of chocolate, breaks it into half and shares one with you. Okay. Thank you, Indira. So that's something that you need to keep in mind. In today's times, carefully select the company you keep. All kinds of information overload is lying in front of us, and we don't really know which is fake and which is real. For us, the sixth act, one of the acts of abundance in these times, is to be very clear about what we are looking at and not share this company. And in this, I'm taking company and twisting it to make use of information overload. It is good not to share panic. It is great not to share fear and get into that panic situation ourselves, but rather select the source very clearly. Select and understand what is it that we want to do, what is it that we want to read, and the source, whether the source is true or not. And one more piece, I'll do the last one. Give more of what you want. I've always found that when I want more affection, if I give affection, it comes back multifold. I've noticed that when I am short of something and I share that, all of us know or have read Ramayana. We know the story of what happened to Sumitra, right? When what is called the Charu came from the yagya, from the fire pit, and it was sorry. Hello. Okay.
Yeah, I think you're good.
I heard some confusion. Indira, is it okay to continue?
Yeah, please continue.
Great.
Yeah.
So the story is, thank you, Indira, thanks. The story is that Dashrath and his 3 queens were doing this yagya which is called the Putreshti yagya, right? And they got what is called the payasam or the charu or whatever from this. And it was given, one half was given to Kaushalya, other half was given to Kaikeyi. And Sumitra had nothing. And she sat there, she did not ask and jump and say, where is my share? She did not really worry about it, and she was calm. And what happened? Both the other queens shared part of what they had with her. So I always feel that if we give more of what we want to others, to people around us, the more we give, the more we get. And last but not the least, spend time in reflection. So here I would like to take just a minute and share that a couple of years back, I was down with a severe health issues, and I was totally homebound for a year and a half. And I had so much time that I continued, I realized that I could, delve into deep despair, or I could look at reflection. In these times of crisis, reflection helps. Reflecting into what I have done, reflecting into what I can do, reflecting into what is the goal of my life, what's my purpose, have I actually identified the purpose of my life? And this reflection helped me a lot to come back from that 1.5, 2 years of illness as a new human being. I feel that this lockdown that we have for a couple of days, or for 21 days, or even if longer, is a great time to reflect upon our strengths, reflect upon our weaknesses, reflect upon what kind of opportunities are available for us, and see how we can bring about a change within ourselves and without ourselves. Let's move to the next piece. Earlier, I had shown you what happens in the scarcity mentality. The point of view is that I am not in charge. Either I am, so nobody, I am not in charge. The charge or the power in some is externally located. But the moment we move to the position of abundance mindset with the 6 acts that we discussed right now, we are in the driver's seat. We make a choice. It is empowering, right? We have enabled ourselves to make that choice. Once we enable ourselves to make that choice, things change. Because we are enabled, we don't feel the fear of losing. When we don't feel the fear that we will lose, we are relaxed. We are balanced. We are in the present. And then, as it has been told in Indic sciences and Indic practices, the breath or the prana carries the life force, right? The way we breathe, the swasa carries the life force. So the breathing is extremely important for us. And we find that the physical energy is balanced and rooted, grounded. The emotional energy, what happens to us when we are in the driver's seat? All of you who drive realize, right, what a big high it is. So we feel empowered, we feel engaged. And therefore, because we have that power in our hands, we feel extremely energized, excited to go forth. And therefore, the mental energy moves from a very confused, disorganized, blinkers on approach to an expansive, open, multifaceted way of looking at things. So when we are able to bring about change, and the change may be very small. It could be a small change of I taking part in the domestic chores. It can be I taking the initiative to tell my house help, do not come, stay at home and be safe. However small it is, but it is empowering. It gives you a sense of clarity. And therefore, it also gives you a sense of being non-judgmental. You may ask me why? Because the power is within. When the power is within, then I need not stand on judgment. But when I entrust the power outside, then I am judgmental. I gave you the power, but you didn't do it properly. You did not take care of me. The government is bad. The representatives don't know what to do. They have, and so on and so forth. I don't want to take more time, but I want to just say this much, that my mentor used to tell me, and this comes from, I think, Louise Hayes, who says that every morning when you get up, stand in front of the mirror and say, I love you, and articulate your name. It builds a sense of abundance. It builds a sense of positive energy. And it also builds this, it exudes a lot of love for yourself and therefore for others. Similarly, the belief that the universe is infinite. What comes to us from the universe is infinite, makes us believe that, or makes us put it into practice. So if I believe that there are only 10 projects and everybody is rushing for it and I don't get one, I am the loser. Obviously, I will be the loser. The universe tells you, well, you chose to be a loser. But if I tell myself that I am connected to this universal supply of whatever it is, you choose money, love, faith, trust, empowerment, whatever you choose. If you do this on a daily basis, for yourself, I have noticed it helping. And I come from my own experience, as I shared with you all from my severe illness days, where I said I am connected to the universal supply of good health. I'm connected to the universal supply of love. I'm connected to the universal supply of healing. And when I visualized it, I started healing faster. So I leave you with whatever is your affirmation of abundance. It's up to you to decide what you want an unlimited supply of. Just keep in mind that when we get unlimited supply of something, then we also give limited supply of the same to others. A quick couple of references that I used for today's session. I can share this with all of you. And I leave this now open for questions.
Hi, Mridula. Can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you.
Yeah, Mridula, I have a question. So when you say that...
May I know who this is? I'm not able to...
My name is Somali Nagarajan.
Your name?
Somali Nagarajan.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, hi Somali. Yes.
Hi. So when you say, let's say I say to myself, I am connected to a universal supply of, let's say, projects. So I don't believe that by simply saying that every day and believing in it, however you may, nothing is going to happen unless you believe that it's not enough to just say it. Okay, say it to yourself, but then also make efforts to try and reach out to people, or how to get the projects. So without effort, simply saying to yourself is not going to make any visible difference. Is that correct?
Definitely. The next step is I wanted to say the next step is being proactive. By just saying to yourself may not be enough. Then I put that into action. And then I look at, okay, if I want more projects, what do I do? Which are my niche areas? Who are my possible clients? How do I reach out to them? Yes, definitely. I agree with you, Suman. Yes, Varsha.
I think at this point, Mridula, we must remember the triangle of abundance, because that will lead to, getting that affirmation into action. So that would be the connecting link between this last slide and our affirmation triangle, our abundance triangle.
Why don't you just share the triangle of abundance? Just give us 2 sentences on it, so that all of us are on the same page.
Where we believe that things can change, where we believe that I really don't have it on, I'm doing this through my iPad. I don't have that screenshot here. Otherwise, I could have shared it with you.
Sure.
So we believe what we want, affirmation at one point, and that affirmation is abundance. And then we think of the change. What is the change? And then I put myself, my mindset. So these are the 3 things that when we put together, that we make the change happen. Unless we do that, because these are all interlinked. It is action plan that we have. So I believe that as we said, we have to have that abundance mindset. We also need to connect why this abundance and how will it happen.
Thank you, Varsha, for adding that. That's a great input. Do we have any other suggestions, questions, add-ons?
Okay,
I
since
I
no
have a
one
question,
is.
Mridula. Ravi here.
Yeah, Ravi.
How do you quieten the mindless chatter, continuous chatter in the mind which says there is scarcity, there is a problem, there is a lockdown, we don't know whether it is 21 days or 210 days. How do you quieten that voice?
Well, so what my thoughts, and I would say that is that to look at periods of time, length. So for example, I am looking at 20 days or 21 days and I am ready for it. But in my mind, I have noticed that if I'm going to fret about it, if I'm going to spend all my energy fearing it, then am I going to make a difference? Is it going to change? First question is that. Is it going to change? How am I making a difference? How am I impacting anything? First question. You and I are not aware of it. Definitely these are questions that will be in my mind. And for myself, I have found that calming myself down, one of the things has been to be able to concentrate on all the positives that are around me, all the things that are there with me and what I'm doing with it, and trying to one of the things that I do, very small thing, is that I meditate a little. That helps to bring that chatter out of the mind, to be able to look at what is there for me. Definitely it's a great fear that all of us are sitting with. It may not be for 21 days, it may extend to 200 days, could be a fear. But if you are going to sit with that fear for these 21 days and fret about it, my question is, are we going to do anything about it?
True.
How is it going to impact this? The only impact it will have is my fear will increase and I may get into depression, or I may get into panic mode, or I may get into other emotional and mental states of mind. So I think that the one of the ways, there are multiple ways, and I'm sure as many people, that many ways, what works for whom. One thing that works for me is to count whatever positives I have around them. What is there with me? One best thing that I tell myself is I'm with my family. I am not somewhere alone. The second I tell myself is that it has a blanket, reassurance has been given that essentials are available. And then the third thing that I told myself is, what is the primary basic needs that we may have, that we can survive with, and keep that in my mind. Couple of these things, plus definitely meditating helps. I mean, that's my thought.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi. Any other queries?
Okay, at this point, I would would like to say, just a minute. I would like to interrupt here. I would just like to say, Mridula, that was a great session. Thank you very much. I think a lot of people felt the same. Very, very insightful. Just before everybody else leaves, I would just like to make an announcement that tomorrow we have a session by Sunita Lawrence, which is preserving our energies in these times. So please requesting all of you to tune in for that as well. So Mridula, you can now continue with your question and answer session, because I see a lot of people moving. So I just want.
I see. I thought you're closing it down, so I
No,
immediately.
no, I'm not. I'm sorry. I just wanted to interrupt before people left the session.
Right. So before people start leaving the session, I would like to thank everybody for this opportunity. It makes me feel great to stay connected, and I hope some of my experience that I have shared makes a difference. Thank you very much.
Definitely did.
Yeah.
I think.
Thank you very much, Mridula. Very nicely conducted. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I think we had another person with a question. Ravi, I think.
Shrikant had a question. Ravi, I think, completed. Shrikant had a question.
Okay.
No,
Hey,
hi, Shrikant here. Not a question though, but I know, as you said in this session, it's very important that we appreciate, and as an L&D fraternity, we definitely do appreciating people. It was a fantastic session, Mridula. I'm really, really glad to be part of this session. And that's what, somebody spoke in this call. So I thought the message is already given to you. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you, Shrikant. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
So anybody else with any questions, or anybody wants to say something else? Okay.
Hey, Mridula.
I think
very good evening, and everybody. Very good evening, Bama here. A wonderful session. I think this is an essential. The fear that have been addressed are very, very real. And no matter whether we are okay to admit it or not, we always have this at the back of the mind. So I think this one is help us steer through one more time. So thank you for the reinforcement again, and thank you, Indira, for coordinating one more time. Looking forward to see you all tomorrow again. All the best.
Thank you, Mama. Thank you.
Sure, it's my pleasure.
Thank you, Indira, for bringing this together, and thanks, Mridula. Very well conducted. Looking forward to tomorrow's session as well. Thank you.
Great. I'm so happy. Thank you.
Yeah, the expectations of the sessions are increasing day by day. Setting up higher and higher benchmarks.
Yes, today was really great, actually. So
yeah, the next presenter should really gear up in their presentation, content, context, everything.
Great.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you, Indira,
thank you, Mridula,
for doing this. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely, my pleasure, and I'm so glad it's working out so well for all of us, and we're gaining so much out of this.
In fact, this initiative itself is a great example of abundance mindset.
Thank you.
Is there any email or phone number or WhatsApp number where we can ask questions if there are later or get clarifications?
Definitely. I'm just sharing my number here.
Thank you.
For every 1 second, I'll share it for everyone. This is my number, and here is my email ID. Please feel free to write or call, WhatsApp, and I'll respond.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Shall I end the meeting now? I think we can go ahead and...
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So see you then tomorrow.
We can go ahead and close the meeting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. See you then. Bye-bye.